In a valley cradled by mist-shrouded mountains, there lived a young man named His heart was a forge, constantly burning with a fierce, untamable anger. The slightest provocation, misplaced word, a clumsy gesture was enough to ignite a wildfire of rage within him. His fury was a destructive force, pushing away friends, straining family ties, and leaving a trail of regret in its wake. Kalen felt trapped, a prisoner to his own temper, and the isolation was a heavy cloak he couldn't shed. One day, after a particularly explosive argument that left him breathless and alone, he heard whispers of a Zen master named Alara, who lived in a secluded temple high in the mountains. They said she possessed a wisdom that could calm even the most turbulent storms of the soul. Desperate for a change, Kalen decided to seek her out. The journey was long and arduous. He climbed winding stone steps, crossed rickety bridges over rushing streams, and navigated dense bamboo forests. Each step was a battle against his own impatience. He cursed the sharp rocks that bruised his feet and the tangled vines that snagged his clothes. By the time he reached the temple, nestled serenely by a waterfall, his anger was simmering, ready to boil over. He found Alara sweeping fallen leaves in a tranquil courtyard. She was a woman whose age was impossible to guess, with eyes that held the depth and stillness of a mountain lake. Kalen, without any greeting, blurted out, "I need you to teach me how to get rid of my anger. It's destroying my life." Alara stopped sweeping and looked at him, her gaze calm and steady. "Show me your anger," she said softly. "Bring it there, and I will take it from you." Kalen was taken aback. "What do you mean? It's not something I can just hand you. It's inside me." Alara simply smiled. "Then come back tomorrow when you have it with you, and we will deal with it then." Confused and frustrated, Kalen left, his anger flaring at what he perceived as a dismissal. The next day, he returned, his mind churning with arguments. He was ready to tell her exactly how his anger felt. But when he stood before Alara, who was now tending to a bonsai tree, he found his rage had subsided. He couldn't summon the same intensity. I don't feel it right now," he stammered. "It comes and goes." Alara nodded, her fingers gently pruning a tiny branch. "So, this anger of yours is not always with you," she observed. "It is a visitor. Why do you treat it as the master of the house?" This simple question struck Kalen like a thunderclap. He had never thought of his anger as something separate from himself. It was just a part of who he was. For the first time, a sliver of understanding pierced through his frustration. He realized his quest was not about getting rid of anger, but learning to see it for what it was. Alara then handed Kalen an empty cup. "Fill this with water from the stream," she instructed. Kalen did as he was told, returning with a full cup. "Now," Alara said, "hold it out in front of you." He held the cup, his arms straight. A minute passed, then 5. His arm began to ache. After 10 minutes, a sharp pain shot through his shoulder. "My arm hurts," he complained. "The cup is so heavy." Alara looked at him. "Is the cup itself heavy, or does it only become heavy the longer you hold on to it?" Kalen's eyes widened in realization. He lowered the cup, relief washing over him. "Anger is like this cup of water," Alara explained. "Holding on to it for a moment is fine. Holding on to it for hours will make your arm ache. Hold on to it all day, and your arm will feel paralyzed, incapable of doing anything else. The weight doesn't change, but the longer you hold it, the heavier it becomes." This lesson became the foundation of Kalen's training. Alara didn't teach him to suppress his anger. Instead, she taught him to observe it. She had him sit by the stream and watch the water flow. "Your thoughts and emotions are like this stream," she would say. "They come, they flow past, and they go. You are not the water. You are the one sitting on the bank, watching." Kalen began to practice this mindfulness. Whenever he felt anger rising, he would pause. Instead of reacting, he would take a deep breath and imagine himself on the riverbank. He would label the feeling. Here is anger. He observed its color, its temperature, its texture in his mind. He watched as it crested like a wave, and then, slowly, receded. He learned not to be swept away by the current. It was incredibly difficult at first. His instincts screamed at him to shout, to lash out, to feed the fire. But with each attempt, he grew stronger. One afternoon, A young monk accidentally spilled a bucket of muddy water on the floor Kalan had just meticulously cleaned. The old Kalan would have exploded in a fury. He felt the familiar heat rise in his chest, his fists clenching instinctively. But then, he remembered Alera's words. He closed his eyes for a second, took a breath, and visualized the riverbank. He saw the anger as a murky red current, swirling powerfully. They watched Italiano. He didn't fight it. He simply let it flow. After a moment, the intensity lessened. He opened his eyes, looked at the terrified young monk, and said calmly, "It's all right. We can clean it up together." The monk stared at him, astonished. In that moment, Kalan felt a sense of freedom he had never known. He had not defeated his anger. He had simply chosen not to hold on to the cup. He was no longer a prisoner. Kalan stayed at the temple for many months, learning to tend the garden, to meditate, to live in the present moment. He learned that every emotion, even anger, had a purpose. Anger could signal injustice or a boundary that had been crossed. The key was not to eliminate it, but to listen to its message without letting it take control. It was a signal, not a master. When the time came for him to leave, he bowed deeply to Alera. "Thank you," he said, his voice filled with a quiet gratitude. "You taught me how to put down the cup." Alera smiled, her eyes twinkling. "The cup was never in your hand, Kalan. It was only ever in your mind. You learned to open your mind's hand." Kalan returned to his village a changed man. He was not without anger, no. One is, but his anger no longer burned like a wildfire. It was now a controlled flame, a source of energy he could use for positive change, a signal to pay attention. He mended broken relationships, offering apologies not with shame, but with calm understanding. His family and friends saw the profound peace that now surrounded him. He became known not for his temper, but for his patience and wisdom. Kalan's story reminds us that our emotions don't have to define us. We can learn to observe them without judgment, to understand their messages without being controlled by their power. The goal isn't a life without anger, but a life where we are the masters of our own house, welcoming visitors, but never letting them take over. We all have the power to put down the cup. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more content on mindfulness and personal growth. See you next time.